I'm here today to talk a little bit about woodwind maintenance. And first thought, water is the enemy. Every time when you're finished playing, you need to remove the moisture. Second thought, they do make oils for keys. I don't want my middle schoolers to use them. And if you think that you have to, they don't go on the actual keys. Key oil is not for the key. Key oil doesn't go on the actual rod. It's not for the rod. The pivot point in the rods where there's like a little crack in the metal is where it goes so that you can work it in and it is allowed to move up and down. But no, middle schoolers, please don't use key oil. The only oil that any woodwind should use is if you have a wooden clarinet, you would use bore oil. In the last 15 years, I've only had 2 kids with wooden clarinets. If you have bore oil, then you need to have multiple swabs, one for cleaning moisture and one for adding the oil. And you would only add oil, because we live near the ocean, usually once a year. If you ever move to the desert, you might need to add it like every other month, or talk to local professionals there and see what their recommendation is, but humidity does make a difference. All right, so some things that you should have. A brand new clarinet swab looks like this. Once you use it, it should never again go back in the bag. So take the bag and throw it out. A clarinet swab is just a piece of felt or a piece of cotton or fabric with a string and a little weight at the end. And we have to make sure we undo this. If you try to put it through like this, it will probably get stuck. So make sure you open it up before you put it through. Saxophone swabs, they come a few different ways. Some are actually made out of silk, but the most common is very similar to this one, except it has a piece of foam that pushes us out. So when it goes through, it's being pressed against the insides to get the moisture. Once again, string and a little weight. The flute one, usually you use the flute cleaning rod. This rod also has a mark in it for adjusting the head joint, but we're not talking about that today. And for the flute, you would need 2 separate cloths. One to polish the silver, one for the outside of the instrument. Oh, make it look shiny, get rid of my fingerprints. And the other for the inside of the instrument. The one for the inside of the instrument is the one that takes care of the moisture. So I'm going to show you how each of those work, starting here with flute. So you take whatever your cloth is for cleaning the inside out. This is actually a piece of cheesecloth that it was sold for that purpose. You can buy cheesecloth at the grocery store. And you thread the needle. You shove it through that hole. Just take the corner of it and shove it through. I'm looking above my glasses so I can see. And then we want to take the others and flip it over the metal. We don't want to shove exposed metal in. So you just do one part at a time, and you're like, ooh, I'm cleaning the moisture out of this. Other side, I'm cleaning the moisture out of this. Head joint, make sure you don't push out the end piece. I'm cleaning the moisture out of this. And foot joint, I'm cleaning the moisture out of this. And that's how you remove the moisture. Most all flute cases have a little slot right on the edge of the case. This one's in the front, sometimes they're in the back. That is for storing your cleaning rod. Here's my cleaning cloth for the inside and my polishing cloth for the outside. They should never go on top of the flute and then close the case. You can and will bend your keys. So the flute case gets closed with no cloth on it. If your case has an extra outside area to add a cloth, you can. If not, you can just tie it to the handle or do whatever it is you need to do. All right, swabbing the clarinet. First thing is the most common spot to get stuck is right there, that part sticking out. It's the inside of your thumb key. And if you put something through there that gets stuck on that, sometimes it has to go to the repair shop to get cleaned out. So you take your swab and you make sure that it's not folded up, that it's not crumpled, and you just drop the weighted piece through and you pull it through. Does it look dry? It might take 2 passes. The longer you play, the more likely it is to need more passes. You just want the inside to look dry. And then you would do that with the next part of the clarinet. There are some people that try to do it while their clarinet is put together. I don't recommend that at all. One reason is it's hard to get these parts. The other reason is you're more likely to get this stuck. So then you do the mouthpiece and the barrel and the bell. Some people might have a mouthpiece brush like this. It's not meant to be used dry. This is meant to be used where you have like some warm soapy water, and then you make an air seal around the cork so the cork doesn't get wet, and you go in from this side, not this way, and you twist and flush with water, but we don't want this cork to get wet. All right, saxophones. You have the weighted part that goes in first, and we let gravity help us. So that just put the weighted part to the bottom, and I can see it down there. So what I want to do, using gravity, it's in here, I want that part to fall out to here. So I shake it a little, and oh, it was like half an inch away from me. Let me try that away. Try that again. And there it is. So gravity takes it down to there, and then gravity takes it out to here. And we just have a good grip on it, and we pull it through. Repeat as necessary. I have seen people go in through the bell first, and then bring it out through the top. I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. I just usually go in through the top. So repeat as necessary. Any moisture that's left on any woodwind instrument can and will hurt the woodwind instrument. Right. Next thing is cork grease. How often do you add cork grease? It depends on how often it needs it. A new cork needs it more. An older cork needs it less. The cork grease helps facilitate a good air seal, but it also makes sure that you don't break the cork while pushing it on and off. If the cork is so thick that it's almost impossible to put together, oftentimes you need to sand down or shave down the cork, because when it's just too thick, no amount of cork grease will make it work. If you use too much cork grease on the cork, it will get down through the cork and get to the glue that's holding it to the instrument and make it come off. So too much is bad. Do not add this every day. For my brand new corks, I tend to use this like every other day until it gets smoother to use, and then go to once a month. For my older corks, you have to do it at least once every other month just to keep a good air seal, but you're just adding small amounts. Whether it is a saxophone cork or one of the 4 clarinet corks, put a little on, rub it in, clean your fingers, and any globs of extra stuff you wipe off. If you have the chapstick style cork, it makes it pretty easy to rub in, and you think, oh, I don't need a finger. But you still do want to use your finger to actually spread it around. Some of you have corks that are in like a little tube, like you would use like a miniature toothpaste. Some of you have cork grease that are going to be like in a tub that you dip in with your finger. As long as it's cork grease for instruments, it will work. All right, back to our flute. Most often, flutes don't need any grease at all. If this gets bent, no amount of grease will make it fit into the next part, but occasionally it just gets stiff and the metal's not bent. Metal bent is repair shop. If this is stiff, and I would say probably only 1 in 10 flute players ever need to grease this at all. If this is stiff, and you don't even need to keep your own cork grease for how rare this is, you just bum a little spread off of a friend and put it on. Oftentimes when you do that, it's too much and it slips out when you don't want it to, so you tend to put it on and wipe most of it back off. In an emergency, and I've seen professional flautists that use this all the time and not just in an emergency, we are humans and we have natural skin oils, and some oils from our own skin can lubricate that just a bit. Officially, we don't recommend that. I've seen it done. So, some other things that might be in a cleaning kit. You might have something that looks like long and skinny to go inside of a piece, and it's like furry, and they say it's to clean it. And while that can clean it, if you just put it in and leave it in, you're trapping the moisture on the inside. They will damage your instrument. They will damage your pad. If you have the type that go on the inside, you can't leave them in there. I know it looks convenient. If your repair kit or your care kit came with a screwdriver, do not use it for your instrument. If you over tighten a screw, you can break it. Some adjusting screws aren't supposed to be tightened, and if you adjust it, it makes it not work. Just screws are not something middle school musicians need to be messing with. If you got one of these, don't use it. This is the final object that comes in handy for woodwind maintenance. And you don't technically have to buy one of these from a music store, because that's basically a, kindergarten craft thing. I just had the name in my mind and it disappeared. Anyway, it's fuzzy and pokey, and this is basically a paintbrush that's never had paint on it. And this is just for dusting around the keys. And we have to be careful because the screws aren't really going to move, but the springs, oh, those springs. And, you know, a spring on a woodwind instrument is not like a curly spring, like Tigger's tail. It's not a normal spring. It looks more like a needle. But if you knock the needle off, they don't call it a needle, they call it a spring, then an instrument won't work. I've had lots of people that while trying to maintain or clean their instrument actually knock off springs and make it not work and make things worse. Most people only have to do this if they take out their instrument at home and leave it out so, you know, dust settles from the air. As long as you always play it and put it back in its case, you really shouldn't need this. All right, so there's an overview of the instrument. I want to talk about ligatures just for a quick second, and then we'll finish this video. So ligatures are made different ways. Traditionally, the ones made out of metal are made that the part of the screw that you twist is on the right, and the part you don't twist aims to your left. And traditionally, leather ligatures are made to be used upside down on purpose, and the part you twist is on the right and it's aiming off to the left. So no matter what type of ligature you have, it should have the twisty part in your right hand. I know if you look at a screen it looks like left, but that's my right hand. And if you have a wraparound with one screw, the wraparound is closest to your face with the screw away from your face. And if you have the traditional ligature with two screws, the metal ligature, this is closer to your face and the smoothness is away. To my young men who are playing clarinet, as you get older and grow goatees and beards, this will grab your face hair and it will hurt when it pulls away. So these, they say, sound a little better, but for the practicality of not pulling your face hair, this is convenient for that. When I grow my face hair out right now, I'm clean shaven, but if I have a beard, I always use this ligature. Awesome. I hope this helps everyone know a little bit more about how to clean and maintain their woodwind instrument. And please always remember, water is the enemy.